morning, fellow advocates. Welcome to my channel. My name is Ruby, registered nurse and part of an advocacy group for migrant workers. If you don't already follow me, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Recently, Mr. Premier released a report outlining how the program designed to protect temporary foreign workers are sufficient for their well-being. Here is a summary of the reports from Mr. Premier. First, the statistics of healthcare access and utilization for foreign temporary workers are higher in Canada than elsewhere. In the report, Mr. Premier also stated that the psychological difficulties of foreign temporary workers are normal. And lastly, Mr. Premier indicated that foreign temporary workers can use healthcare from their home country. So today we have a meeting planned with Mr. Premier to discuss our concerns about his office's statements, and we want to relay evidence that the Canadian Temporary Foreign Workers Program does not protect workers. And since we're in a lockdown, we are going to be meeting through video conferencing, but once again, we're not allowed to record it, so I'll share an illustration. I hope these vlogs encourage you to continue your advocacy work. Great to see you, Mr. Premier. With me today is Davion, a public health nurse, and Seema, a civil rights lawyer. As you know, we are members of an advocacy group for migrant workers' health access rights. Thank you for meeting with us to review the reports your office published last month. We have some concerns about the statements from the report that we want to discuss with you today. First, I will dispute that even though foreign temporary workers are given healthcare privileges in Canada, they continue to have difficulty accessing the services due to employer gatekeeping and mediation, transportation, and language and literacy barriers. Next, Davion will argue how normalizing the psychological challenges of foreign temporary workers is inappropriate. Lastly, Seema will dispute the idea that foreign temporary workers can access healthcare from their home country while working in Canada. Mr. Premier, over the years, migrant workers expressed concerns that Canada's temporary work programs have bred abuse and exploitation. The workplace dynamics of employer gatekeeping and mediation have greatly diminished foreign temporary workers' ability to access healthcare services. Foreign temporary workers can report labor or health violation and concerns to their respective workplace health and safety officer, but still, the countless reports of consulates acting as gatekeepers or dismissing their concerns or failing to protect their rights effectively have gone on to continue. The current federal program for foreign temporary workers brings more restrictions rather than delivering on the protections that the program promises. Mr. Premier, other factors that impact foreign temporary workers' access to healthcare include transportation needs and language difficulties. Foreign temporary workers typically work in rural areas and have limited transportation options to access healthcare services. Many workers are dependent on their employer to bring them to an urban health center, or workers have to pay for transportation, which can be costly for them. Access to healthcare services are further affected by foreign temporary workers having little control of their work schedule, with employers changing the schedule without notice, or being forced to work long hours with no days off. Many foreign temporary workers do not speak English or have limited literacy and may again rely on their employer to act as a translator when receiving healthcare services. Foreign temporary workers are left in a vulnerable position, resorting to remaining silent to the exploitation and abuse of power.
The Canadian government states that foreign temporary workers are entitled to workplace protection, human rights, and housing protection. Still, foreign temporary workers continue to experience undue suffering and harm while working in Canada. Several studies spanning decades of research continue to link psychological difficulties to the suffering experienced by foreign temporary workers. It has also been reported that the mental health of foreign temporary workers continues to worsen during the pandemic. If foreign temporary workers are subjected to the abuse and exploitation of their employers, and continue to have precarious access to healthcare, then mental health disorders for this vulnerable population will continue to rise. The rise in mental illness will cost Canada an estimated $50 billion a year, including healthcare costs, lost productivity, and reductions in quality of life. Ensuring access to all healthcare services provides foreign temporary workers with the means to receive appropriate mental health services and remains cost-effective for Canada's economy.
50,000 to 60,000 foreign agricultural, food, and fish processing workers that come to work in Canada each year and are essential to getting food onto Canadians' homes. They pay taxes and contribute to the Canadian pension plan. They come to Canada for employment opportunities and to provide for their families. Foreign temporary workers come to Canada healthy and ready to work, but their health declines while working in Canada. Leaving Canada to seek healthcare services from their home countries would leave them unemployed and unable to provide for their families. Desperate to keep their jobs and avoid being terminated and sent back to their home countries, foreign temporary workers are left vulnerable to abuse and unfair treatment from their employers.
As part of an essential group of Canada's population and economic growth, foreign temporary workers should receive the same rights and protections as all Canadians. Mr. Premier, how do you expect foreign temporary workers to access healthcare services when roadblocks like employer mistreatment, abuse, and discrimination continue to largely stay unaddressed? Once again, another productive meeting. I'm so glad we got to meet with Mr. Premier. He told us that his office is committed to ensuring that temporary foreign workers receive equitable protection while working in Canada. Next week, I'll take you behind the scenes of our roundtable discussion at the Advocacy Symposium, where we will continue our fight for temporary workers to receive access to all healthcare. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are new to this channel, please go back and watch our previous videos on our advocacy work, and you'll see that migrant workers should receive access to all healthcare while in Canada. How do you feel about this? We'd love to see all your comments, and we try our best to respond to them. So let us know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching.